Hi, and welcome to the Improved Garage YouTube channel. Today I want to start by talking about my garage and the progress I've made over the last month or so in improving it. So we live in a house that we're renting. Honestly, it's because it's a great deal and we're paying about half of what the mortgage would be. Eventually, we're planning to buy a smaller house that is closer to where we work. This is probably 3 to 4 years away, depending on how quickly the kids move out of the house and other life things happen. Our house is a three-car garage. It's made up of a standard single on the right side with a deeper double on the left. For most of the 4 years we've lived here, we've tried to have three cars in the garage at all times. The garage has always felt cluttered to me. I can't stand parking the cars outside though, because we have to deal with water spots from the sprinklers and the rain. Um, I set the garage up like most people normally would. I put a toolbox on the left wall next to our garbage cans. We have a water softener system and a water heater that have to live in our garage. I had two tool carts, a separate Harbor Freight toolbox that I use for storing like materials, uh, hardware, etc. On the back wall, I created a detailing area of sorts with an RODI system, some storage cabinets for detailing supplies, and my pressure washer, hose reel, and a garden hose. Since the right side of the garage was pretty tight, it was just used for parking and to store a Christmas tree train platform. So I started doing some searching online, and basically I found that nobody locally makes a good complete system for the garage. Lowe's, for example, carries four brands of cabinets. They have Cobalt, they have Gladiator, they have Rubbermaid, and they have Craftsman. Each of these has its own style, its own colors, but none of them are really complete. And about half of every one of those lines is not available from Lowe's without a special order, at least from my Lowe's. You go there and they have, two or three pieces of Cobalt, two or three pieces of Craftsman, two or three pieces of Gladiator. I was able to pick up the two Cobalt upper cabinets that I showed in one of the earlier pictures, and I thought that I would get some of the rest of the Cobalt line, and they were on back order for months. I wasn't able to get anything. There was just nothing on the shelves, completely empty. And according to Lowe's, they can only order from their local distribution centers. Eventually, my internet searches brought me to Matt Mormon's Obsessed Garage. Watching his videos, I was instantly like, this guy gets it. His sonic cabinets are awesome. His videos are incredibly thorough. I watched the video on the garage giveaway and I wished that I could do something like that at my house. So I started planning and trying to figure out if money was no object, what would I do? Well, I would put a wall of cabinets down the left side of the garage. I would go back to a two-car garage and add a storage rack for separation to the center of the garage. This would create a left garage bay for working and a right garage bay for parking. Since my garage had a coated floor that was peeling, I would install tiles from wall to wall, like the Swiss Trax tiles that Matt sells. And this would allow me to take them when we move to a home that we own in the future, instead of spending money on someone else's property. Then I would spend some time upgrading the washing equipment to something like a Krensla, upgrade my RODI storage tank, add more lights, upgrade my compressor to something that is quieter and better performing, maybe add a TV to the back wall. The possibilities were endless. I spent some time pricing out the Saber cabinets that Obsessed Garage sells, and I came up with a range of 6 to 9 grand to do everything how I wanted to. In the end, I decided to go a different way for two main reasons. The first was from a cost standpoint. I couldn't do the Saber cabinets now, and I really didn't want to wait. So I thought I could come up with something that would be acceptable for less money and then improve on it over time and replace the devices that I didn't like. Secondly, because this is a rental property, there's always a possibility that I have to move these into a house that has a different configuration, and some of the Saber cabinets would end up wasted. So I figured that I would do something temporary now, see how I liked it, try to improve on it over time, and then when I move into my new house, build everything the way that I actually want it to be, whether that's with Saber cabinets or maybe I find something in between that I'm really happy with. The first thing I did was look for a storage rack that could separate the garage. I found these really heavy-duty Husky units at Home Depot. They have several sizes. The one that I chose is 90 inches long and 90 inches tall. It was the largest size that my local Home Depot carried. They have it in multiple colors, but again, I had inventory issues and difficulty getting the exact size and everything that I wanted. So I ended up with a black unit that is 90 inches long. The rack goes together easily. It's really sturdy. It gives me a ton of storage, and it also gave me the separation that I wanted in my garage. Um, Things like the storage bins, the 27-gallon standard size storage bins, like the Gladiator units that your local Costco sells, or the 25-gallon Craftsman units that Lowe's sells, fit on the shelves really well, and it can hold, 4 wide by 5 high, basically 20 of those types of storage containers. Next, I decided to come up with a layout for the left wall. I decided I wanted a floor level tool storage on both sides of the window and a wooden top that I could make a workbench out of that goes across the tool storage. I wanted a space between the cabinets under the window so that I could hide a stool. I'd put upper cabinets on each side of the window and tall cabinets on both ends for symmetry. What I found was a comfortable gap between the cabinets under the window seemed to be around 30 inches. My upper cabinets on both sides that I already had from the previous Cobalt line are 30 inches as well. So that meant that I needed lower tool storage cabinets that were somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 45 inches. I looked around and I found these cabinets at Harbor Freight. They're actually toolboxes, 44-inch toolboxes. They have a wide bank of drawers and a narrow bank of drawers. And I thought that something like that might actually work out well. They're a little bit too tall for my needs, but I figured I could work out feet or some sort of solution to shorten them, and I could make a wood top that went across the top of them to, create my workbench. So I go to Harbor Freight to pick one up, and of course they only have one in stock. So I buy one, I ask them to order me another one and let me know when it comes in. I take it home and unload it, and it looks to be about what I need. I started moving most of my tools out of my Snap-on tool chest into one of these Harbor Freight toolboxes. And what I found was the build quality wasn't quite as good as my Snap-on. It's just not what I'm used to. The Snap-on had double drawer sliders to handle the weight. It had lockers in the front of the toolbox where you slide it to the left and then you can open up the drawers. This has detents where you slide them back and it kind of catches and the drawer stays in a detent of sorts. What I did find was that, positively, was that the drawers are deeper than my Snap-on box was. So I was actually able to fit a little bit more tools per drawer compared to my Snap-on. And the layout was really good for organizing and separating my tools. They came with these really nice labels. They're just paper labels, and they've got a clear protector that goes over them where you can actually label every drawer and what goes in them, which is, useful for sending one of my kids to get a tool. Hey, I need a hammer. It's in the drawer marked hammers, and they don't have to go and open every single drawer to figure out where something is. And I realized that it's, ridiculous to be comparing a Snap-on tool chest that retailed for $6,000. I mean, the bottom chest alone, which would be comparable to the Harbor Freight in terms of the size and capacity, was $2,500. These Harbor Freight units are $500. They regularly go on sale for $50 off with a coupon, so I paid, $449 for a toolbox that is essentially replacing, a bottom chest that was $2,500 when I bought it 13 years ago. So the next day, I got another call from Harbor Freight. Their truck came in. They had another black box. I went and picked another one up. Went and got it, unloaded it, and both of them were really good. They didn't have scratches on them. They didn't have dents. They were put together well. I didn't have any quality issues with either one of them. And at that point, I was able to completely empty my Snap-on tool chest and still have a bunch of empty drawers, which was good. So I took my Snap-on tool chest and I listed on Craigslist, and I listed it for $1,200. It sold in 2 days. So in hindsight, I probably should have asked for more money, I suppose. But at this point, it is what it is. That funded the two tool chests. So now I need a top for my workbench. So I went over to Home Depot, and they had these 4x8, 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of finished maple. Now the entire length of my tool bench with a 44-inch cabinet, a 30-inch gap, and another 44-inch cabinet, is a little over 9 feet. So I got a 4x8 sheet. I ripped it at 2 feet all the way down the middle. I made a single 8-foot slab, and then I have another section that's like 16 or 18 inches, kind of on the right hand side. I use the other pieces of the board to make filler because the tops of the toolboxes are um, kind of indented. There's a half-inch gap between the very top of the tool chest and like the rubber mat that sits on the top of the tool chest. And I needed the workbench top to sit over that lip and kind of fill in that gap. So I used some pieces of the sheet that were left over after making the top to fill in that piece, and on obviously both boxes, and built a top that sets in both of the boxes and kind of locks into all of the corners, yet still spans this over 9 foot section of my garage. What I found was when I got all that together, my height was a little bit too tall. The window that I'm setting it under is 36 inches off the ground. There's a crank at the bottom. The crank hits the wooden top, and I need to look for some leveling feet or something that I can place in place of the casters that come on the boxes. The casters are just tall; they're about 6 inches tall. So, reasonably, if I drop those off of the bottom and I, lower the boxes onto a set of leveling feet that are, say 4 inches tall, I can not only get below my window, but I can also have some adjustment, which helps with the next problem, which is that your garage floor is pitched, and your garage floor is pitched to drain water into your driveway in most cases. So my garage floor is pitched somewhere around an inch over the 9 feet, inch over 8 feet, something along those lines. It's not a tremendous number, but on my very left side of this cabinet, I need about 4.5 inches of height, and on the right side, I need somewhere around 3 inches of height. So, looking at the casters, the way they're mounted into the bottom of the cabinets, the casters are flat metal plates, and they bolt in 4 places. It's not a bolt and a nut. The bottom of the cabinets is actually threaded. The thread is an M10-1.5. So I'm looking for a set of casters that I can find, or sorry, not casters, but a set of leveling feet that I can find that I can thread into those locations that would be able to hold the weight and not buckle under what is probably an 800-pound cabinet with all the tools and everything in it, and give me the height adjustments that I need to level everything out and make it uniform. So for now, I'm just going to resolve to putting the cabinets on wooden blocks, remove the casters. It'll get me below the window so that I can at least open it. And then I'm going to look for some leveling feet. I'm also still looking for my tall standing cabinets for both sides, so I'll post an update once I have a solution for that. Hopefully it'll be in the next couple of days. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you have any interest in this. I appreciate it. Thank you.